in all sports, you're always defined by your rival. You know, the Red Sox are defined by the Yankees. Arsenal is defined by Tottenham. At the end of the careers, Okada will be defined by Tanahashi.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the 100 greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spencer.
I'm Yoshitatsu.
Rainmaker!
Oh, man.
That was almost as long as Vince McMahon WrestleMania at WrestleMania 8.
Oh, God, don't get me started on that. My voice is not recovered yet.
Because we literally recorded the most recent episode of Last Mania Standing before recording this one. So if you're a Slammy Award winner on a tier on our Patreon, then look out for that episode in the very near future.
Yeah,
Hell
absolutely.
to the yeah.
But today, we come to you from January the 4th, 2016.
It feels like WrestleMania, right?
I don't know, yeah, I guess. From the Tokyo Dome, of course, in Tokyo, Japan. What else could it be but Wrestle Kingdom? Wrestle Kingdom 10, Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Everything has led us to this moment, gentlemen.
Tanahashi walks into Tokyo Dome with 5 consecutive wins at Wrestle Kingdom against names like Shinsuke Nakamura, Minoru Suzuki, and Kazuchika Okada. These 5 victories all came in the main event. Let me say this again. Tanahashi had won in the main event of the last 5 Wrestle Kingdoms. This match marked what many would consider an official passing of the torch for Kazuchika Okada, and he would then take up the mantle of earning 3 consecutive Wrestle Kingdom main event victories after this. This is a pivotal moment in professional wrestling.
And we can't forget that he made his film debut in My Dad is a Heel Wrestler, released in September 2018.
Who could forget that, Paul? Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we get really going, because Landon, you've now got me super hyped up.
It's so easy to get hyped for this match.
I know.
Yeah, it really is.
I know. I do feel like, Paul, do we have something? Do we have a corrections corner?
We do. So last week on the show, I said that Van Dam performed the Van Terminator during the Junsei Shinzaki Hayabusa match, and I was incorrect. The Van Terminator, as it stands, is actually what we call the Coast to Coast, and it was not used until 2000. So thank you, Kate Clouds, for letting me know. I'll have you know that my sources lied to me, so my sources have been fired. And I am now on the lookout for new sources. And you, listener, yes, you, if you think you have what it takes to be part of my dangerous alliance, then DM me, and I will vet your qualifications and see if you can become my new sources.
Oh my God.
I do know that one requirement to be part of the Dangerous Alliance is you have to have loved Firefly Funhouse and the Boneyard match.
Yes. If you didn't like those matches, don't even bother.
Need not apply.
The first question, what is the best match at WrestleMania 36? So, I mean,
it's tough to get in, but it'll be worth it, I promise. Guys, to round us in here on what we're looking at, we've got Kevin Kelly, your teacher Matt Stryker, and Yoshitatsu on commentary, the American commentary, of course. And who else could be the referee but Red Shoes Uno? So, with that being said, the picture is set, but how did we get there first?
Oh man, this match is like God, like 8 or 9 years in the making. It's insane.
Yeah, it's an exciting build. So it actually all started in January 2010, and a lot of people kind of overlook this part of the story. Hiroshi Tanahashi, New Japan's top star, was scheduled for a tune-up match against a young Kazuchika Okada, who at this point in his career was 22 years old, still a young lion training in the New Japan dojo, wearing his traditional Japanese black trunks. And I love that uniformity that New Japan has, where if you're a young lion, you're going to go in there and you're going to wear the black trunks, just like Antonio Inoki did in the 70s whenever New Japan was launched. Everyone was wearing those. So it's sort of this tradition that carried over. And it's almost like a formality they have with their trainees. It's like, this is your attire.
Well, yeah, whenever you're a young bloke, you're in the dojo, that's just what you do. You don't have a gimmick. You're so-and-so, and you go out there and you wrestle. And then once you kind of figure your stuff out, then, all right, well, now you can kind of like, here's your big coming out party where you can be this, like, you get this gimmick and this character, but it's your name.
It is.
They don't give you like unless you're wearing a mask, you don't get like a fancy name. Like, you're you.
But one of the things that I love about this and about being a young lion is you're not just thrown to the wolves and given a squash match. Okay, so while this is referred to as a tune-up match for Hiroshi Tanahashi, they go out there for 15 minutes and they have a good match. It's a little bit back and forth. Like, Okada is able to show off some things. So, but Tanahashi does win in about 15 minutes. Okada bows, shakes his hand, and then they're both attacked, Terry Funk style, by Tanahashi's rival at the time, Toru Yano. This is before he started selling DVDs. This would actually be Okada's last match in New Japan before leaving for TNA. Okada commented on this match in his career, saying, "Tanahashi taught me, before leaving, what a top-level match in New Japan should be." And Tanahashi remembers this, telling him to build up his body and become stronger. Okada remembered this. So it's almost as if without this glorified squash match from 2010, we wouldn't have Kazuchika Okada as we know him.
No, we really wouldn't.
But guys,
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at that DVD slide.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a good gimmick, right? It's a pretty good gimmick.
Oh my God,
Toru Yano.
That killed me.
But yeah. So I'm really excited that we're doing a deep dive here because there's so much to talk about. So we talked about how it went all the way back to 2010, but over the next several years, Okada and Tanahashi were simply, essentially, ships passing in the night. Always in the limelight, always impressive. But it wasn't until Okada returned to New Japan in 2012 as the Rainmaker that he would again challenge Tanahashi, except this time it would be for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, and he beat him.
And
not only did he beat him, but he ended a historic 404-day streak as the IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
I mean, that match, many consider to have launched this storied rivalry, and it took place at New Beginning 2012. And after the first series of matches that they had, Tanahashi said of Okada, "He was a different person altogether. I felt him getting stronger every time I was in the ring with him." Their clash at Dominion would prove a satisfying victory for Tanahashi as he recaptured the heavyweight championship from the cocky Rainmaker. And that's the thing about Okada. When he came back, like Paul was saying, right? You start off as a young lion and you have the black trunks and you're kind of, I don't want to say stale, but you haven't really developed your character, who you're going to be, the man you're going to be. You're, young, 22 years old. But when he came back, he was the Rainmaker. And he was this cocky, confident, stoic, is just competitor that rose to prominence very, very quickly. But this would still only prove to be the beginning. After 6 months and 4 matches in 2013, Okada successfully defended the title against Tanahashi for what felt like the final time at King of Pro Wrestling. Okada had proven himself, and officially avenged his loss against Tanahashi when he was a young lion. In return, Okada...
Can I jump in here for just a sec? Sorry. I wanted to touch on this moment in the rivalry, because it felt like with a successful title defense from Okada that, you could have foreseen that as maybe a passing of the torch moment, right? Whereas maybe this is the moment where Tanahashi really does start to kind of go towards the background while Okada continues to rise. And
Nope.
That's not how either one of them saw it, which I think is very, very interesting. Okada said that he doesn't think that, even though Okada was conscious of being at the top, that he didn't think that Tanahashi thought of passing the torch at that time. And Tanahashi responds by saying, if I ever start thinking I won't be able to win against him being Okada, then that would mean the end of my improvement.
Oof.
Exactly. This is the point where they are. This is not a passing of the torch moment. This is just two guys who are now on the same level. It's Okada rising up to Tanahashi's level. And you know what? This is the kind of storytelling that New Japan does so well. Tanahashi, knowing that he's defeated, essentially retires from the heavyweight championship picture for a time and shifts his attention on the Intercontinental Championship. And in the mid-2010s, they saw a new wave of Western talent roll through New Japan. You had AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, Prince Devitt, and Tanahashi and Okada had plenty to do with their time apart from each other. And they were both working towards the same goal, right? The tradition set by Antonio Inoki that laid the groundwork for what New Japan was. They were defending the honor of New Japan from the Gaijin.
Oh, yeah? Because now we had the Bullet Club coming in here and just wreaking havoc.
So from July 20th to August 14th, 2015, Tanahashi takes part in the round-robin stage of the 2015 G1 Climax, defeating Shinsuke Nakamura in the finals. With this, Tanahashi is handed a contract which gives him the right to challenge for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom 10 in the Tokyo Dome. However, he would have to defend that contract in a series of matches for the rest of the year leading up to the Tokyo Dome Clash, which I thought was pretty interesting, right? You see people win, like when you win the Money in the Bank, it's yours. And, sometimes, very rarely they've had maybe one or two instances where you had to defend the briefcase. But in September and October, Tanahashi successfully defended the contract against Bad Luck Fale and Tetsuya Naito, ironically, avenging the two losses he suffered during the 2015 G1 Climax. I mean, great booking, great storytelling. But finally, on January 4th, 2016, at Wrestle Kingdom 10 in the Tokyo Dome, Tanahashi would once again challenge Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Okada, by the way, who had just scored New Japan's first ever 5-year multi-million-dollar deal. If Okada wanted to cement his legacy, he would have to defeat Tanahashi one last time.
I mean, think about it. Tanahashi, who was in the main event of like 7 or 8 of the first 10 Wrestle Kingdoms, right? The main event. He is, in the words that they use, he's the ace, right? Tanahashi was the ace. He was the guy that helped carry New Japan, especially through those first 10, the first decade of the 2000s. And they were in the main event. Tanahashi and Okada in the main event at Wrestle Kingdom 9, the year before this. So it does feel like Okada has a chance here at Wrestle Kingdom 10, a place in the Tokyo Dome where Tanahashi has been better than anyone else, a chance to really set his legacy.
Matt Striker. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to go exactly where you're going right now, I think, because Matt Striker says that Okada will be defined by Tanahashi.
Yeah, Matt Striker says in sports, teams are defined by their rivals. And at the end of their careers, Okada will be defined by Tanahashi. And if that doesn't just sum up their story until this point,
I can't think of a better way to do it.
I have to say, I really want, as these men make their way to the ring, I wanted a battle of the managers here. I want to see Ghetto versus Batman.
Oh God! Something tells me that actually did happen. But for my thing coming out is Tanahashi, the #1 contender, who's supposed to come out first. And him, look at him there with his perfect hair and his amazing jacket and his fucking abs. Beautiful man.
Oh my God, he did. Tanahashi looked excellent in this match. I would give anything to look like Tanahashi at that point.
Oh yeah, and then of course Okada comes out. I'm like, okay, here we go.
This is another time for me to love Okada's hair. I love the blonde hair. Okada looks like $1 million to me. The Rainmaker thing, it's perfect.
Well, he comes out with an even better jacket and a truly glorious entrance, and he makes it rain in the Tokyo Dome, baby. Woo!
Rainmaker!
Kevin Kelly says he has made it rain throughout the Tokyo Dome, but Tanahashi owns the building. Lease and rent might be due.
Oh, man.
Damn.
Gentlemen, the two most handsome men in New Japan will compete in the Battle of the Super Hunks for the IWGP Heavyweight title.
That is pro wrestling summed up, isn't it?
It's perfect.
I've never heard the Tokyo Dome so loud at the start of a match before this.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I mean, like they've got several years of build here. This is it. This is the ultimate test.
It's insane.
It's really interesting because as they're setting it up, during the entrances, as the crowd is going nuts at the very start of this thing, it's important to keep in mind that at this point, the rivalry between the two of them has led to a 3-3-1 record. Like they're knotted up, right? And so Matt Striker does what he does often, and that's put people on the spot to ask them for a winner right before the match starts. And, so they kind of go back and forth on who they think is going to win. But an interesting stat is laid out, and that is that the IWGP Heavyweight Championship has only changed hands 7 times out of the 22 attempts on January the 4th, which I think is very interesting.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, and I thought it was really good. And so it kind of gives Okada the advantage, at least from that perspective. That because when you think about WrestleMania, a lot of the times you think about how it's the challenger's defining moment, right, where they come and they win the championship at WrestleMania. Well, if you look at Wrestle Kingdom, that hasn't been the case.
No, it's the opposite.
January 4th Super shows. Yeah, it's the champion proving how resilient he is and defining himself by successfully defending his title, which I think is fascinating. So like we said, the crowd is going totally nuts, and it's a crowd that's normally very, respectful, especially in the beginning of a match, but they are pumped for this. And it's a really, really fun start.
Yeah, the clean break from Okada right there in the beginning is interesting, but of course, it's only clean so much because he's playing mind games.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so cocky.
And it's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, can't say I blame him.
Yeah, he pats the chest of Tanahashi to be like, just to kind of get in his head a little bit. And it's that smile from Okada that we get a few times throughout the match that just reminds you like, oh, he knows he's in control.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's really good mat wrestling to start off. It's a slower pace in the beginning than you might expect from a match like this. But the commentary team says it does feel like a Flair Steamboat type match here. It's very back and forth. You have the classic chain wrestling. I mean, clipping knees, waist locks, headlocks. I mean, and then
I want to say on the headlock, and this is something I've always been back and forth on Matt Striker, whether I like him as a commentator or not. But something that he does well is explain the effectiveness of moves.
He does.
And Tanahashi has Okada in a side headlock, which is, as generic a move as you can name in wrestling. But Matt Striker says, Notice how Tanahashi has Okada in a side headlock because the Rainmaker is delivered. Normally, it starts with Okada from behind the opponent. So Tanahashi's doing what he can to stay not in front of Okada, but instead on the side or behind him to make sure he's not in position for the Rainmaker.
So
he then follows up with saying, "No one's ever been pinned off a side headlock," and I'm like, "Bro."
Right.
You
Way to ruin
just
it.
built this up and you immediately killed it. But I have to say, before we get too far into the match, like, I mean, massive big fight it feels off this one because this match is a big fucking deal. I mean, we spent 20 minutes talking about why it's such a big deal. This is the main event for the IWGP Heavyweight title at the biggest show of the year. You think Vince would take some fucking notes, but no, he doesn't because he doesn't speak the language.
But right here, where they're doing this mat wrestling style, Tanahashi starts working on the leg vigorously, and you see it pay off almost immediately. It pays off almost immediately with Okada being significantly slowed down, but he is able to threaten a tombstone pile driver pretty early on the previously injured neck of Tanahashi. But Tanahashi is able to escape.
Or so he thinks.
Yeah, he kind of gets free and then immediately just eats a springboard drop kick from the top rope by Okada. I'm like, here we go, motherfucker.
Right,
and
like,
then,
congratulations, Tanahashi. You escaped the tombstone. Here, have a boot to the face.
Right.
Yeah. And then Spencer's favorite spot of all time, the barricade.
Yes. The ultimate, here's what I want. I want more than anything else is a bear hug against the barricade. Because then the match will be number one on the list and we'll have to do nothing else.
I am envisioning like a Bam Bam Bigelow style. He just grabs somebody. They're leaning on the outside against the barricade, and he just grabs the barricade with the person sandwiched in the middle and just lifts it.
Huh. That'd be interesting.
I would do
it. We get something much better. We get a flying crossbody from Okada over the barricade to Tanahashi.
Yeah, so it spills to the outside.
Directly onto the rain money. Woo!
Yes.
It spills to the outside, but Okada, while having champion's advantage, mind you, tosses Tanahashi back in the ring because he doesn't want to win by a countout. He has something to prove.
He's firmly in control now.
Okada, when he actually puts Tanahashi back into the ring, instead of just getting back into the ring with him, he does a senton from the apron into the inside of the ring. And it's just quick as a hiccup.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I really like it. And he puts Tanahashi on that top rope, and it looks like Okada's setting up for a drop kick while Tanahashi's on the top, but he misses. But then Tanahashi goes for a senton off the top and misses that. So it's really fun back and forth. Yeah, and of course the story was with the neck and the back of Tanahashi. It's a bigger deal that he misses that senton.
It is. That's a really good moment, and I'd like to take a beat just to talk about that. So
yeah,
Tanahashi misses the flip senton, and first of all, ouch. Okay, it looks really rough.
Oh yeah, it hurts.
But secondly, the way he's able to... Did you notice this? He flips and he stops spinning in midair as if, yep, this is exactly where I need to land. This is exactly where my back needs to be. It's perfect position. And he's just able to stop himself in midair and when he has enough rotation. It's crazy impressive.
Oh, yeah. And Okada is like, all right, motherfucker, I'm going to punish you now. Just those fucking corner splashes. And then he just hits these like DDTs that just look fucking stiff as hell. That make Jake the Snake go, that's how you do a goddamn DDT, son of a bitch. It's not a goddamn transition move. And then for the second match in a row, we get cattle mutilation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, what is this? New streak, baby. Woo.
Well, I love the back and forth mat wrestling here because Tanahashi also continues the attack on the leg of Okada. And it's smart, right? It's smart to eliminate Okada's base for the Rainmaker. I mean, think about how you set that move up. It's a step back and a push off your back leg to throw the lariat.
If you can't stand up, you can't do that.
Exactly. But other moves that Tanahashi does to eliminate the legs, how about the dragon screws? I mean, there's one point where Tanahashi dragon screws Okada's leg across the middle turnbuckle and then the middle rope.
I like had to like pause. Like okay.
Flashbacks.
I can't watch anymore.
It was awesome. And after he hits that second dragon screw on the second, like in between the second rope, he hits a sling blade on the apron.
Yes.
Which is the hardest part of the ring, Michael.
Well, Okada is caught up in the ropes from being dragon screwed there, so his leg is like stuck, and so he's totally defenseless. And that sling blade, ugh.
The dragon screw is a move that I just generally enjoy, but Tanahashi doing it through the turnbuckle one especially was next level, and it was awesome.
I loved it.
Never
Really,
seen
really
that
tough
before since.
I hadn't either.
And not to be outdone by this, Tanahashi does a top rope crossbody to the outside. And when I say Okada narrowly beats that 20 count, I mean, I was convinced the match was over.
Oh, Okada struggling to get to his feet as the ref counts to 16 is absolutely scary. At
18, he collapses. I'm like, what? Get in the goddamn ring! And then he somehow does it. I'm like, oh,
he gets in the ring.
To me.
He gets in the ring, and Tanahashi locks in the cloverleaf. And if you've seen Tanahashi's Boston Crab style moves in all variations, you know he likes a high angle torque.
Oh yeah,
Landon,
but dude,
Landon, let me tell you something, Paul. I'm so sorry. I think it's important to note because I think the details of this match are really, really important. So after the high fly flow crossbody to the outside, when Okada does come back in the ring, before he gets the cloverleaf put on him, Tanahashi hits a high fly flow from the second rope onto Okada's legs.
Oh,
I'm
right
like,
onto his legs. And Matt Striker immediately says that was on purpose. Like that was planned and it was calculated. And then he locks in that cloverleaf. So the damage that the cloverleaf is doing is made worse by the splash that was just landed just before. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, what I love is there's so much emphasis being placed on Okada's legs that it even is put on the shoulders of Okada to sell this, right? So without thinking, Okada finally gets the upper hand and goes for a familiar move. He hits the air raid siren and drops Tanahashi's neck on his knee and then immediately collapses in pain.
It does the white noise.
Because, I mean, it's like that's a move that he goes to very often. It's sort of second nature for him, but you don't think about, okay, I'm going to drop you on my leg. Oh, shit. Shouldn't have done that.
Well, the leg he dropped him on was the injured leg. I'm like, oh, God. Like, he desperation moved, but took more out of himself than did it to Tanahashi. And then Tanahashi very suspiciously starts using European uppercuts. And I'm like, interesting.
I thought that too.
I bet William Regal really likes this match.
Okada is able to take advantage of this moment, though. He gets back to his feet and he goes on a streak of vicious, and I mean vicious, drop kicks.
Jesus, it's like 4 of them, and every time he does one, you can see the pain in his eyes. Like, oh, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, he does 4 in a row, and then he says, "You know what? That's not even good enough. I'm going to do a springboard now. A 5th one, a springboard drop kick that's going to knock you out, and then I'll go hit the elbow from the top rope."
And that elbow, I mean, that is a leaping elbow.
Yes,
it was beautiful.
Randy Savage would be proud.
And at this point, he goes for the tombstone again. But again, Tanahashi is able to escape, and he turns this one into a victory roll.
Ooh, it was very, very close. I was convinced that was it. It's like he kicked out at like 0.9. I'm like, geez, you can't get much closer than that.
There are a lot of close falls.
Yeah, Matt Striker's telling you the whole time that the match is probably going to end off of a counter instead of a signature move. So, that roll up looks very convincing.
And the crowd thought that was it because they're like cheering. And then when it's not over, they get even louder. Like, oh my God, we're still going? Guys, Tanahashi hits another dragon screw. And at this point, I'm like, you're going to tear his fucking knee. There's no way he's not got some kind of damage.
Yeah, I actually really loved this one because Okada goes for another drop kick, but Tanahashi, the veteran, is recognizing, okay, well, he's done this several times now. I'm going to catch the leg this time. He catches it and hits the inside dragon screw. If you notice, he went a little bit, he tweaked it this time. I mean, it's just brutal.
And I don't even know how Okada can stand now.
Right, especially because he immediately gets put back into the cloverleaf, except it's even more cinched in than it was the first time.
He's like just folded in half while his like legs are being ripped over the back of his head. It's insane.
Right. The only thing saving him is that he's not fully on his chest.
No, he keeps like he'll grab Tanahashi's legs to kind of break the hold, and then Tanahashi just steps over him like, all right, no, fuck you. Like, I'm locking this in. And I'm like, geez, he's like bending in half backwards while having his legs torn apart. And I don't know how he does this, but he just got to that bottom rope. And I'm like, his legs are done. There's no way. He can't stand up after this.
Yeah, so it's looking rough for Okada at this point. After a neckbreaker sling blade combo, Tanahashi somehow makes it from the center of the ring to the top rope in record time. I don't know if you go back and watch this, it's kind of ridiculous. But he still misses with the high fly flow.
I need to ask you a question now that we have this moment. He misses the high fly flow, which of course has Kevin Kelly saying, "High fly, no."
No.
Is there a better finishing move that's more set up to miss than that? High fly, no. Is there another one that's so good like that?
I love
it. Kurt Angle's moonsault because he never hit it.
Oh, I don't think he hit it one time.
the one time he hits it, he broke Bob Holly's arm. We got the letter to TNA. We got no, never mind. I'm not gonna make that joke.
No. I just think it's funny because it sets up perfectly for commentary to talk about how it misses. So I think it's a funny play. But it was interesting that he does miss that, and Okada goes for a tombstone in an effort to take back control of the match.
Oh God, he fucking hits it too. It's scary.
He does. It's a nice, fun back-to-back kind of reversal moment between the two of them, and he hits that tombstone. And especially when you know the history of Tanahashi's neck, that's a big deal. And then we get our first rainmaker of the match.
Oh God, he hits it. I'm like, fuck yeah, gets it. 1, 2, kick out, and I'm like, oh my God. And then my favorite thing in pro wrestling, the move steal.
Yes.
Oh boy, do I love a stolen finisher.
It feels at this point, this match to me feels like a Rock Austin main event.
Oh
well,
yeah. Oh.
And it's really important because Okada had to use 2 finishers that he saved up on SmackDown Here Comes the Pain to do it.
Right?
That's right. You have to have 2 to steal a move.
That's right.
Oh man, but he goes up there and he does the high fly flow, and I'm like, oh God, and he nails it. And I'm like, oh shit, that's it. He's gonna be with his own move. But Tanahashi kicks out again, and dear God, the crowd is like as a 12 now. It's like, oh my God.
And
everyone is going nuts, including Jushin Thunder Liger, apparently in the front row.
Right? So
he's losing his mind.
Actually, Jushin Thunder Liger was actually on commentary for Japanese commentary, and I really wish I would have watched this match with the Japanese commentary to catch Jushin's
Oh, it would have
reaction.
been amazing.
But yeah, that was my one complaint here from the American commentary team, is because while this series is going on, it's actually sort of quiet, and Matt Stryker does say that Jushin Thunder Liger over on Japanese commentary is losing his mind, and I'm just like, well, geez, I wish you would.
Right.
One thing I will give the WWE credit for is when they say stuff like that, they will kind of show you, look at them over there, they're losing their shit, or they'll even splice in the audio for a second just to kind of give you that, whoa! I'm like, we don't get that. And I'm like, he tells us this, and I'm like, oh.
And then they're silent.
I really wish that whoever's in charge of the filming this would kind of take a note from that and cut over there, but I guess that guy probably doesn't speak English. So.
Right, but I don't want that to take away from the amazing work that's going on in the ring. I mean, you have a Rainmaker being reversed into a sling blade, which is beautiful, followed by a dragon suplex. And
Tanahashi does, in fact, hit a Rainmaker of his own as well before that.
Yeah. It's good stuff. They trade finishers.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But that dragon suplex, like you said, incredible.
It's nice seeing the full, the original pace dragon suplex where, because right now, if you're watching Kenny Omega, you see the Snapdragon. And it's impressive to see like 1 or 2 times, but he does it like 3 or 4 times a match. And it's like, okay, but I want to see a brutal, slow dragon suplex. And that's what you get here.
But Landon, it isn't enough. 2 frog splashes, and that isn't enough either.
High fly flow.
I'm just like, oh man, 2 back to back. Tanahashi cannot secure this one. Crowd goes from a 12 to a 13 now.
Oh,
They're getting so loud.
We get a wide shot of Tokyo Dome agreeing with you that they're just like, how the hell was that not enough? Like, it is going crazy.
Not a single butt is in a seat. Everybody is on their feet. Like, we get top rope dropkick from Tanahashi, gets blocked by a standing dropkick from Okada.
Oh, perfect timing.
Like, oh my God.
The timing on Okada's dropkick to catch Tanahashi coming down was just absolutely perfect.
Catching him right in the solar plexus. And we get another dropkick by Okada. The Rainmaker gets blocked, but then we get a German suplex. I'm like, yes, this is it. He stands him back up. Rainmaker is again blocked by Tanahashi. I'm like, oh my God, what will it take to put this man down? Okada has the answer to that. He hits 3 Rainmakers.
Yeah, so when Okada hits the German suplex, if you watch very closely, he maintains wrist control the entire time. And he does get slapped in the face, which is a nice touch.
Right.
But this is the thing. When Okada has your wrist at this stage of the match, you're as good as done.
Oh, yeah. Because he's got the Rainmaker.
And he hits 3 Rainmakers, gets the 3 count, and Okada becomes a legend.
Oh my God. I got to say though, each Rainmaker he hits the first one. That second one is even harder. That third one is like, that's it. This is it. There will never be a harder lariat in professional wrestling. He hits him so fucking hard. Like, that's it. He's done. I don't care who you are. You're done. Okada is king.
Okada has done so much over the last several years that his in-ring work may be unrivaled, in my opinion. I think he may be my new favorite wrestler of all time.
He's so good. Like, I said this when we covered Dominion. Like, these might be my 2 favorite wrestlers. And, like, after watching Okada again in a very, very different style match where he still looks like king, I'm like, yeah, he might be. He's definitely on my list. He's in my top 5. Like, he's so good.
Favorite moments?
Oh man, just as a corny wrestling fan, the crossbody of the barricade into the pile of money that made me laugh. The single stick he's stealing each other's moves. I love that, and just that finish, that very like, I'm gonna hit you with 3 of the hardest lariats, and I'm taking that belt from you. Something about that, just that moment, that actual torch passing moment, like that's a really, really powerful thing, especially if you're like me, you really, really fucking love wrestling. And I mean, it's obvious because we have a podcast how much the 3 of us love this sport. Seeing that done that well is such a glorious fucking thing to see.
Yeah. Seeing the respect that these guys have for each other is really, really refreshing, and something that I wish we would see more.
Because after the match is over, it's not a beatdown. Like, they shake hands, they embrace. They're like, "You did it," and he like, it's like, you did it.
Yeah, because this is such a significant moment. It's out of all of the matches that they've had leading up to this moment.
I mean, this had to follow Nakamura versus AJ Styles,
right?
Mind you.
Out of all the matches that they had leading up to this was the moment where, in my mind, the torch was officially passed.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like, not only is Okada champion, but he defeats the ace, right? And Paul, you said it wonderfully, talking about how much we love wrestling and how wrestling is built on moments like these. Like, this is why people get so passionate, why people love this sport so much, is for these stories. And the second half of the match is just killer. I mean, the whole thing is great, but the second half especially is just high octane. I love a cloverleaf, so I am partial to those.
I do too. It's a damn good move, and not enough people use it.
Yeah, I agree. It was just a real pleasure to watch and do a deep dive on. And I think it's interesting, Landon, you made the Austin Rock comparison a little bit earlier, and I think that's a really interesting one to make, because it is a little bit similar to that in terms of history. And you think about Austin Rock, they had 3 WrestleMania matches. Well, Okada Tanahashi had 3 Wrestle Kingdom matches.
Yeah,
they sure did.
I just think it's very interesting, and I think it's a good comparison to make. And obviously Rock Austin will be on our list at some point. But I'm super, super excited to kind of rank those two, this match and that, and whichever Rock Austin match we put on. It may be more than that, but maybe more than one. But comparing them to this one, because I think it's a similar story, and I think they're both really, really good.
Oh yeah,
agreed.
Now all I can see is Okada and Tanahashi sat down with like Gedo in the middle, and asking them, like, Okada, like, how do you feel going in this match? And him looking at Tanahashi and going, I need to beat you, Tanahashi, more than you could possibly imagine.
Ooh.
With My Way in the background just playing. I'm like, oh, we got to re-edit WrestleMania 17 with these.
Tell me that exists on the internet somewhere. Tell me.
Just have the two of them and just dub in Steve Austin and The Rock. I need this. Somebody make that happen, please.
But Spencer, did you have a favorite moment from this?
Yeah, I think if I have to pick a singular favorite moment, I really, really loved Tanahashi swinging neck breakers that led into the miss for the high fly flow, and then Okada taking advantage with the tombstone. I just love that, because I think it signifies the kind of the final act of this match, and and both guys just pulling out everything that they have. And I just loved it. I think the last 10 minutes are some of the most rewatchable 10 minutes that we've had on the list so far.
This was phenomenal. And one thing that I really enjoyed about this match, why I wouldn't rank it as high as the Dominion match, but it's certainly more rewatchable than that one. It's like half the length.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is one of the most rewatchable matches that we've done, and I had to say, because I probably watched this one no fewer than like 5 or 6 times.
Well, Paul, you say you wouldn't rank it as high as the Omega Okada Dominion match, but that match is currently at number 1. So we're already talking about and comparing it to the number 1 match on the list. What does this mean for where this goes?
Well, I have written in my notes, holy shit, that was fucking awesome. This is top 10 material.
I agree.
I think that's really interesting, because if you look at our top 10 right now, the number 10 match is the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels triple threat from Unbreakable 2005.
Oh, so good.
And this top 10 is solid as a rock. Right, it is really good. I mean, you've got Akira, Hokuto, and Kandori from Dream Slam that we absolutely adored, and then you've got Eddie and Ray. You've got Brett Owen. This is really, really tough. But I would say, because number 11 would be John Cena, Shawn Michaels, I would put it above that one.
I would too.
So we're looking at top 10 for sure, I think, as well.
Well, top 10 would actually have to break over the Styles, Joe, and Daniels match as well, because that's currently the threshold.
Right, and I would put it over that.
Me too.
I would too. Yeah. When we get right down to it, so, all right, let's do that walk. Okay. So number 9, Akira Hokuto versus Shinobu Kandori. Oh God, that was fucking war.
It was war. It was brutal. It was
brutal.
very, very different. I don't think it holds the weight and the story that this one does.
I don't either, and that's 1993. The business changed so much from 93 to 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the number 8. We got Eddie and Ray. I love that match. I always feel guilty ranking something above it, but I would rank this above it. I would go above Eddie Ray.
Yeah, I actually. So I'm gonna just put a pin in it here, and I think I want to actually start crawling from the top, because I think this goes higher than you guys might. I think, and we made the comparison during the match to Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat, and that's currently our number 4. I would start there when comparing this match, because I just feel like, that is known as one of the greatest stories ever told in professional wrestling, one of the greatest series of matches ever in professional wrestling. So if I'm looking at dropping this and really making this go head-to-head with a match, it's going to be that one.
Well, if we're going to sit here and talk about like in-ring and overall, I feel like this match is superior.
I think it's a hard one to compare, because I think you're right about that. I don't think you can watch Flair Steamboat and then watch this match and think that Flair and Steamboat was better in terms of in-ring action. But it was a different time, right? So Steamboat and Flair was 89, and here we are.
This is 27 years later.
27 years later. I do think that the Okada Tanahashi match at the end, there is, the whole kick out of finishers thing happens a few times, which surprised me just a little bit. It doesn't take anything away from it necessarily. It's just a thought that I had.
I don't think they overdid it. I feel like around this time frame, you get a lot of that, not just you get it across the board. I mean, 2016, we have like John Cena kicking out of like 5 F5s. So, I mean, like it's not insane.
No, yeah, no, it's the time. And I totally get that. So I'm not like docking it really for that. I when I was thinking about this to start, I had it ranked number 5.
Yeah.
Right under Flair and Steamboat. That's where I put it, number 5.
And I think that's where, after we had this conversation, that's where I'm most comfortable putting it. If you think about the impact Flair and Steamboat had on the overall wrestling world at the time, I think I would definitely squeeze this in right underneath that.
I think I would too. As much as I love Brett and Owen, God, that they didn't have 45 minutes to tell this story. But like, I feel like if they had more time, they could have told a story closer to this, and then they eventually got to tell a story in different ways. But this match, start to finish, I feel like it's the appropriate amount of time. When it's over, I didn't sit there going, "Oh man, I wish they had more time." I'm like, no, that was perfect. Like that time frame, the story they told before the match, during the match, after the match, just hands down, this was so good. So I also would go right number 5 as well. And I think it's like one of the few times we've been unanimous.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that, Paul? I love what you're saying about the time, though. This match it's 36 minutes, right? Almost even, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're spot on. I think it was a perfect length, because I think the slower start to the match makes the end of it more meaningful.
Oh yeah, I mean that's pure Japan style. You start off slow and you build up, and when you hit that crescendo and the crowd, like I said, the point where they start stealing moves, that's where the crowd just loses their fucking mind. And it's right around that 30-minute mark. There's like 5 minutes left to go, and they're just getting crazy, and they stay at that like fever pitch for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then when this thing ends, like the roof comes off the Tokyo Dome, and it's so much fun to see that, because I have seen so many matches where they thought that was going to happen and it didn't happen. So to see them go, we got them, and we actually got them, is so special. that it's got to be a top 5 match.
And I
It
think
just has
part
to
of
be.
it, and I think part of it, it speaks to them not overstaying their welcome in
They
the
didn't.
ring. You know,
They really
like
didn't.
if this match goes 45 minutes instead of 36, maybe we don't look back at it so fondly.
Probably not, because if they go another 5 minutes after that, like, no, you're going to lose them, because even though, sure, you might pick up the pace or like raise the stakes even more, now it's too much.
Yeah, Landon, do you agree with the timing?
I couldn't agree more. I think it's just such an important moment in wrestling, and they were able to pace the match at a masterful level. They were able to tell the story that they were trying to tell. I love that Tanahashi picked a body part and stayed with it. You had that more like cerebral experience style, calling back to some of Ric Flair's moments, calling back to some of Triple H's moments. But they were also able to tell a unique story in the fact that Okada, from being a young lion, was able to taste what glory would be by wrestling the ace at the top of his game. And so he got a taste of what that would be like, and he was able to eventually climb the mountain and become his equal, and then over time surpassed him. And so I think it's one of the greatest stories ever told.
I got chills. That was really good. Yeah, I'm totally with you.
For some reason, when you're saying that, the only thing that popped in the back of my head is CM Punk just going, fine speech. Because I couldn't have said it any better. So.
Yeah. How much do you guys love having Akira Hokuto and Shinobu Kandori as our number 10 spot?
I like it.
I love it.
I think it's a beautiful barrier to the top 10.
One thing I really enjoy about watching that match is that was a match where my first watch, I was kind of like, okay. It was that second watch where I was like, oh, okay. It took that second watch to really get that, but once I got it, it was one of those, okay, I see why people love this match. I see why a lot of people say this might be one of the greatest women's matches of all time. Hell, the person who told us about it said they thought it was not just that, it was just one of the greatest matches of all time, and we clearly agree with them because we put it at number 10, baby. Woo!
Yeah, number 10.
Yeah.
But this one's going to end up at number 5, and I am stoked for it. I mean, we started the season right with a New Japan match, making it number 1, and here's another New Japan match making the top 5. What does that say? What does that say about New Japan?
Yeah, it's interesting. It bumps Bret Hart, who had 2 top 5 matches, bumps his second match out of the top 5, and it makes Landon's favorite wrestler of all time, Okada. He's got 2 top 5 matches now. I think it's very interesting. I think it says a lot.
I don't think we've seen the last of Okada. I don't think we've seen the last of Tanahashi. But I don't think we're going to break that top 5 again for a while. It's strange because when I think of short list of what are some of the best matches of all time, there's, I don't know, maybe 2 that I can think of right offhand that might break into the top 5. But even then, I have not watched those matches in years, and it's going to be very, very fun to compare them to these matches. And when I say fun, I mean difficult, because God damn it, this is getting really hard every week.
Yeah,
I think is
not every week is going to
guys?
be as easy as this was for us.
No,
I agree. You know what I think is super interesting? If you look at our top 5, look at the years of those matches. 2018, 2002, 1989. This match is 2016, and then WrestleMania 13 was, 1996, 95?
97.
97, that's right, 97.
Yeah.
So we're kind of a good mix in terms of times for the top 5. So I think that's really, really interesting.
Maybe like a 31-year window for the time frames there.
Yeah. Well, guys, we only have 3 more episodes in season 2, which is kind of insane. But 3 left. We've got an incredible match lined up for our season finale in a few weeks. We do have a couple more matches that are going to be 2 of the greatest matches of all time, and we can't wait to bring them to you. We had the most fun breaking down Wrestle Kingdom 10 with Okada and Tanahashi today. I'm super, super excited to see what we bring you next week. So there you go. Until next time, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And this
is
Last Match Standing.